Hi everyone, so welcome to one more fantastic 5 MCQs for NEET PG bar FMG. Myself Dr. Bharat. Let us start with the first MCQ. A patient presented with acute episode of breathlessness. Chest X-ray shows pulmonary edema. History reveals that patient has uncontrolled hypertension and is not taking medication regularly. Which should be the management of this patient? Now the question is telling patient is having uncontrolled hypertension and he is having pulmonary edema. They have not mentioned how much is the blood pressure, but the BP is high, it's not controlled, there is pulmonary edema. So what drug should I use? Now in the exam you have to choose the best option. Option A, intravenous nitroglycerin, intravenous salbutamol, oxygen plus nebulized salbutamol, oxygen plus antibiotics. Now the one which is beneficial here is intravenous nitroglycerin, because intravenous nitroglycerin is helpful to manage hypertension also. It is also helpful in managing pulmonary edema. How pulmonary edema? You know the sequence how pulmonary edema develops. There will be left ventricular failure that will lead to pulmonary edema. So nitroglycerin, being a vasodilator, it will decrease the workload on the heart and it can help in pulmonary edema. Intravenous salbutamol is not used for hypertension or pulmonary edema. It is for asthma condition, status asthmaticus. Oxygen plus nebulized salbutamol is also for asthma. Oxygen plus antibiotics, there is no relevance of this. So the best option what we can choose is intravenous nitroglycerin. Coming to the second MCQ, most effective drug to control tremors, rigidity and bradykinesia in Parkinson's patient. Now one of the best drug to treat Parkinson disease is levodopa, because levodopa in the brain becomes dopamine, and this dopamine stimulates D2 receptor, and that will treat tremors, rigidity and bradykinesia. Levodopa is the best drug. It's the most effective drug for that. So we don't give levodopa alone. Along with levodopa, we add carbidopa. This combination is the most effective. But there are certain adverse effects which we see with this. But what is the drug which we start in the Parkinson disease? The initial drugs. The initial drugs are usually non-ergot D2 agonist. Non-ergot D2 agonist, they are started in the beginning, but the most effective and the best is levodopa. So what are those drugs? The PRAMI, that means pramipexole, ropi, ropinirole and rotigotin. So these are the initial drugs what we can start for Parkinson disease, but the best one is levodopa. What is selagelin? Selagelin, rasagelin, they are MAO-B inhibitors. One more MAO-B inhibitor recently approved is called safenamide. Safenamide. Anything ending with capon, they are COMT inhibitors. They are also used to manage Parkinson's disease. So entacapone, tolcapone, opicapone. Haloperidol, it's a D2 blocker. So we don't use this to manage Parkinson's disease. It will worsen Parkinson's disease. Not only that, it can itself cause drug-induced Parkinson's disease. So what are the drugs for Parkinson's? Let us revise here. The levodopa-carbidopa combination, COMT inhibitor, MAO-B inhibitor and D2 agonist, that is non-ergot ones are pramipexole, ropinirole, rotigotin. Then what are the ergot D2 agonist? The names are the bromocriptine and then cabergoline. So these are ergot D2 agonist. And one more which is a dopamine facilitator is called amantadine. The adverse effect of amantadine is ankle edema and libido reticularis. So the answer for this question is C. Levodopa is the most effective drug to control Parkinson's symptoms. Moving on to question number 3. Patient come with increased uric acid. He is taking medication for gout. Which of the following drug acts by inhibiting uric acid synthesis? So whenever we talk about gout, we come across two gout. One is the acute gout and one is the chronic gout. Sir, acute gout, the drug of choice are NSAIDs. NSAIDs are the drug of choice. But one NSAID which is not used in acute gout is aspirin. Why aspirin is not used? Because aspirin itself increases uric acid, so it is contraindicated. Apart from that, for acute gout we use steroid, that is into the joint, and also we use a drug called colchicine. For chronic gout, we use the drug of choice for chronic gout is a drug by the name allopurinol. Remember as allopurinol. But the question is asking which inhibit uric acid synthesis. Option 1, probenecid. Probenecid, sulfenpyrazone, then lesinurad. If you want one more, it is called benzbromarone. These are all uricose-uric drugs, meaning they increase the uric acid excretion in the urine. And they are also used for chronic gout. Allopurinol, it is the one which inhibit the enzyme xanthine oxidase. We have one more drug which do the same thing. The name is called febuxostat. I told you the drug of choice for chronic gout is allopurinol. It's a purine. Sometimes people are allergic to purine, then we can give for febuxostat. If they are allergic to allopurinol, then febuxostat can be given. So both these drugs are given for chronic gout. Then I told you the drug of choice for acute gout is NSAID, and we can also use colchicine. Colchicine, it inhibits neutrophil chemotaxis, it inhibits microtubules. These are used for acute gout. For acute gout, one more thing I told you is steroids. So the answer for this question is 2, because they are asking inhibiting uric acid synthesis. If I inhibit xanthine oxidase, xanthine will not become uric acid. Let me ask you a question here. Tell me an enzyme which is approved for chronic refractory gout. Tell me an enzyme approved for chronic refractory gout, and the name starts with PEG and ends with ASC. So tell me the name of that enzyme. So gout is a small topic, but questions keep on coming from this. Let us move to the next question. A person was given digoxin, developed toxicity, and levels were 4 nanogram per ml. How much time will it take to reach therapeutic concentration of 1 nanogram per ml? The digoxin half-life is 40 hours. Let us analyze the question here. So the toxicity has happened when we measured the levels of digoxin. It was 4 nanogram per ml. And what they are asking is you have to make this 4 into 1 nanogram per ml. How much time is required? Now you know a concept called half-life. Half-life means time required to reduce a drug by 50% of its plasma concentration. So if I want to make 4 nanogram into 2 nanogram per ml, half, then how much time is required? 40 hours. Now I have to make 2 into 1. That means another half-life. So I require another 40 hours. So to make 4 into 1 nanogram per ml, I require 40 plus 40. That means 80 hours to convert that 40 into 1 nanogram per ml. So this is the concept of half-life, and that was tested in NEET PG recently. Moving on to another question. A patient was on chemotherapy, cancer chemotherapy, developed thrombocytopenia. Which of the following drug is used to recover thrombocytopenia? Apoitin. Now anything ending with poitin, erythropoietin, E-poietin, darbepoietin, these are used to manage anemia. Anemia due to the cancer chemotherapy, anemia due to CKD, chronic kidney disease, or anemia due to drugs such as zidovudine or any drug causing this anemias. Now remember the name oprelvecin. It ends with kin, so it is interleukin. And which number? It sounds like 11 kin. It's an interleukin 11 analog. And that is the one which we use to manage thrombocytopenia due to cancer chemotherapy. So the answer is B. It is an interleukin 11 analog. So answer we got Then we have Grastim, filgrastim. You see the name, it is Grastim. It's a granulocyte stimulator. So it is a derivative of GCSF, granulocyte colony-stimulating factor analog. And that is used when the WBC counts are lesser due to cancer therapy. The name is filgrastim. Similarly, we have one more, the GM-CSF analog. And the name is having granulocyte M monocyte stimulator stim. And that is sargramostim. So the names are gramostim or grastim. They are for leukopenia or neutropenia. Then we have a drug called amifostin. Amifostin is a cytoprotector or a radioprotector drug. Radioprotector. So it will protect the cells from damages during chemotherapy. Another use of amifostin is to prevent cisplatin induced nephrotoxicity. To prevent that, we use amifostin. Nephrotoxicity. So these are very, very important. When we give anti-cancer therapy, there is a problem. How do we solve that? Now let me ask you some questions here. Try to answer in comment section. What is the drug of choice for cancer-induced thrombosis? How do you prevent cancer-induced thrombosis? What is the drug of choice for that? Now, suppose we give cancer drugs, and cancer drugs, patient starts having diarrhea. Then what will you give to treat the diarrhea? Now, what is the best combination? Or let me tell you, what is the drug of choice for early CANV and late CANV? So, please answer these 3 questions in the comment section. So with that, we are done with the fantastic 5 MCQs. Anything you want to ask in the comment section. If you like the video, share to your friends, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all.